Good morning, Cyber Warriors. Here we go into part 2 on how to make changes to the local security policy using SecEdit through the PowerShell. Let's get right to it. So do you remember the portion where in our menu that we showed that you can choose auditing, and when I looked at the system we can see that the auditing was not actually configured? Well, here's how we would sit there and set it and look at these different commands. These are interesting because this is all based off of the objects that it creates. And it's doing that by grabbing the information from that configuration file and it's pushing that into a variable called SecPol. So let's actually go in and grab the function. Actually, we'll grab both of those functions. We'll start right here and we'll go to the end of this one and push those directly into our PowerShell. Oh my goodness, cannot type today. Okay, so we have that where it needs a configuration file name. So we see that as part of this. So we need to pull that somehow. And we have that right here. This is where it's asking us for the name that we want to use. And I'm just going to grab 2022 1012-test because it's now 12 a.m. and the next day. Okay, so that was simple. Let's go back to here and we need to do the next line, which is creating that variable. And this takes just a moment and we're done already. So let's take a look at that variable. There we go. Okay, see, this is a lot easier to read than the previous one because it breaks it down into different components and different sections. So we have the property and then the expanded property. We'll see the system access has the minimum password age, the bad lockout, log off force, the clear text passwords, the new guest name, and it also has all of our auditing elements. Okay. So looking back at the code, it's looking at this. So it's grabbing this portion right here, which is that section, and then asking for the expanded element. So we can do the same thing. Instead of the audits, I'm going to take a look at the system access. So SecPol system access, and let's grab the, actually let's just take a look at this. Alright, see now it dumps and gives us just all the basic information and a very easy to understand way. So just like we made the change for the minimum password age from 5 to 15, we can make this change again very easily by taking a look at this. So we can call it specifically, and we can change it very specifically. So let's do that. So all you have to do is up arrow, and then we're going to put it in quotes. Done. And we can take a look at it and test it. Here is the new change. You see up above, it was 15. Now it is 5. This is a very simple way to make these effective changes quickly and easily. That can be pushed right back into the other one to configure the database, which we're going to go ahead and make some changes to the auditing. Oop, I had something copied up above. Here we go. Boom, 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 boom. So now we see that that's all different, right? So let's take a look at it. SecPol. Oops. Dot event audit. Before, they were all zeros. We were able to see that by scrolling all the way up here, and we see that these were all zeros before. Now, they have actual values that we know about. And these values, 0 is off or disabled, 1 is set for successes, 2 is for failures, and 3 is, what do you think 3 is? If you said successes and failures, you'd be absolutely correct. So let's get to the next portion, which is configuring the database. So just wanted to dip right back in and see, take a look at, this is the file that we had exported. And you see that the changes that we made to the auditing still haven't happened because we haven't called that function just yet. So let's go ahead and call that function right now. And that function was, there we go. I'm going to copy that. And we're going to paste it. And this time, we didn't actually suppress the log information or the final test verification. So now we can open up SecPol to see if we've made the changes. Now remember, previously there was no auditing. Now let's take a look. Local policies, audit policy. Now we have more stuff. Success and failure, failure only, no auditing, success and failure, no auditing, success and failure, success, failure, success, failure, and again, no auditing. So this is based off of the information that we provided, and it's all part of this portion of our script that we added in for this. Now these settings, we have done these settings very specifically for what we do here in our area. If you have a policy to do something differently with your auditing, by all means, use that. This is not something that Cyber Patriot is generally going to talk about or tell you to have configured, but if they do in the README, make sure that you're changing these values to represent what is required. Otherwise, you can wind up making a mistake and losing points. You don't want to do that. But in the absence of any kind of actual guidance, this is what we use here, or at least I recommend to my team as they go and do this competition. Now, looking at the password settings portion, these are more variable, right? So this is based off of the README will almost always have some of this information in there. So your minimum password age, your maximum password age, the length, the history, these are all things that are generally talked about or configured. And if it's not in the README, make sure that your team has a policy or process or plan for these particular sections. And you notice that not all of them were called and asked to be configured. I just outright in our script, I recommend doing these. We don't want to have reversible hash, and we want to make sure that we're enforcing complex passwords. So those are just two elements that I don't even bother asking the user for the script that we provide, simply because these are security settings you always want to have set in the way that we have set them. And the rest is just a matter of running your script, and it's all there. And I also have in the script just a comment in there so we understand the numbers that are in here. We understand that 2 is for failure, 1 is for success, even though I don't have a 1 selected for this group. But that way we understand, and so if we have to make changes, we can tell very quickly of what those are. In fact, actually, let's add this here. And we're going to do value of 0 equal disabled. There we go. Good. We're going to save that, and we're going to go ahead and call it. Whew. Well, Cyber Warriors, that was a lot, and I hope that you watch this a couple of times and pause and work through it, because there's a whole lot going on. Don't worry about it if you don't get these things right off the bat. I didn't do a deep dive on the function and how that works. It's using a lot of regular expressions, and it's building all of those elements based off of that. So it's complex, but that's also freely available and easy to find when you search on the internet. So there's no problems incorporating pieces of that into any scripts that you develop or functions that you develop to do any of your scripting, or if you're just simply going to do it. And we also covered the more simple elements of just being able to call that commands directly, and it doesn't have to be PowerShell. SecEdit is a DOS command that you can run through DOS as opposed to PowerShell. As long as you're an administrator, you are just going to be fine. There was a whole lot going on. I hope I didn't kind of completely overwhelm you, but like I said, just keep going back, reiterate, and it'll sink in. As per always, I hope you learned something. Happy hunting, and I'll see you in the next video.